Sex abuse stories have dominated the news for the past 6 weeks, beginning with Weinstein. Predators in Hollywood, the media, and politics have been exposed, and they have been punished. And that is good news, because justice is always good news. And we'll continue to bring you updates on those stories as we get them, and we're sure we will. But going forward, we should also be careful that the noble effort to end sexual harassment does not degenerate into a witch hunt. It can happen, as the Washington Post just proved. So with that in mind, 2 things to remember. First, anonymous accusations always lead to abuses. The right to face your accuser is the cornerstone of justice and has been since ancient Rome. That's why it's enshrined in the 6th Amendment to the Constitution. It's why we ban star chambers. We don't allow people to accuse others of armed robbery or murder from behind the shield of anonymity. Why do media outlets allow it in cases of sexual harassment? If you're going to name the accused, you ought to name the accuser, assuming it's an adult. News organizations are not courts. They shouldn't take a side when guilt and innocence are in dispute. It's too easy to get it wrong, and they often do. Second, not everyone accused of a sex offense is guilty. Not every accuser is telling the truth. I learned this the hard way a number of years ago when I was accused of felony rape by a woman I'd literally never even seen. She was a certified public accountant in Indiana, an upstanding member of her community, and also apparently delusional. Her claims were grotesque, but they were highly specific. The assault, she said, took place in the back room of a restaurant in Louisville on a specific day at around 10:30 p.m. She included loads of graphic and horrifying detail. It was stomach-turning, and yet none of it was true. I spent the next 2 months trying to stay out of jail. I couldn't tell my children because I knew they'd be ashamed. I couldn't tell my employer because I knew I'd be fired immediately. I spoke only to lawyers, and I paid them a fortune. I took a polygraph exam from the former head polygrapher at the FBI. I never stopped worrying that the charges would become public and destroy my life. Everyone accused of a sex offense did something wrong. Everybody knows that, and I knew that no one would believe otherwise. This isn't a defense of sexual harassment or misbehavior, obviously. It's just a reminder that real life is complicated, more complicated than sermonizing on Twitter. Sometimes the mob is wrong. Sometimes the innocent are crushed.
Sometimes the innocent are crushed.
That's always a tragedy, no matter what the charge is.
Men suffer in just a microscopic way compared to the way women have suffered, so be it.
Yeah, I hope you never sit on a jury, much as I like you, Ken. The wave of sexual harassment allegations over the past couple of months has turned into a maelstrom, which is now ending not just careers, but lives. The point is that what began as a noble effort to eliminate sexual harassment from American life, an effort we agree with vehemently, is rapidly turning into something dark and menacing. Innocent people fear persecution, and that's always the hallmark of a witch hunt. Others use allegations to settle scores or gain power, and that's the opposite of justice. The rest of the country looks on bewildered and afraid, unsure of what the new rules are, but certain of the punishment for violating them. It is grotesque. Imagine if you were accused by someone whose name you didn't know of a misdeed you couldn't remember or didn't commit. How would you respond to that? You might go on Facebook to protest your innocence, but would that be enough to get your job back? Would it be enough to regain your reputation or the respect of your children? Probably not. What would you do then? Feel, well, actually so intimidated that I have to say out loud what is obvious, which is I think sexual harassment is abhorrent, obviously, and I think people guilty of it should be punished for it. But I'm starting to be concerned that innocent people are afraid of being hurt, and that's a bad sign. And so the question is, what are the rules? How do we find out what they are? How do you know if you're guilty? What is going on? So I wonder why, I mean, again, I think it's always valuable and virtuous to make sure the guilty are punished. That's what justice is. But I also think that journalists play a role in this, and that they ought to be the responsible parties in these stories. And maybe somebody should pull back a little bit and make certain that the allegations are true, and that the process is transparent before destroying people's careers and reputations. But they're not doing that. That's absolutely true. No, it is a perfect environment for misdeeds like this. It's just that not everyone accused is guilty. Mark Stein, thank you for your wisdom as always.
Thanks a lot, Tucker.